What does it mean when we say we are seeking freedom 155 years after enslavement in the United States? To answer that question, we would have to define freedom. Freedom is more than not being legally owned by another human being. Freedom is defining yourself, naming yourself, living outside of imposed ideas of what you can, should, and will be. Freedom is not waking up on a daily basis to perform your existence so that you can be more palatable to a white mainstream audience. Freedom is an exercise of the imagination, a constant longing of the human condition, a battle with the world to live as who you truly are. A state of being that only you can define in a world of systems, ideologies, and people trying to hinder you from living as your whole self. We, as ourselves, will save us all. My name is T. Barnes. I'm the founder of the Black Freedom Colony, which is located in Tulum, Mexico currently. My life's mission is to move my people forward towards freedom. The freedom I'm seeking is a reconciliation of ourselves to ourselves, reclaiming our history beyond the mythologies, reclaiming our cultural traditions and spiritual practices, reclaiming our healing modalities, reclaiming our ability to decenter whiteness and live authentically at the center of our own story, and to do this as global citizens of the world. It is past time to recognize that borders between countries are simply a social construction. As humanity moves forward, it will be more and more important to recognize ourselves as global citizens, without the boundaries physically and mentally. Those that are global will move through the world as a bridge to new experiences, to creating new ways of living together and recovering old ones. We, as ourselves, will save us all. Our theme today is rewriting the future. That is going to take brutal honesty that many people are not prepared for, but that can't be avoided. Much of that honesty will require Black people that refuse to water down our messages for white consumption. Black lives are the beautiful, living, contemporary evidence of the origins of humanity. We are the Alpha and the Omega. When we deeply understand that, we also understand that our freedom is taken, not requested. Our humanity is not in question and never has been, at least to ourselves, so of course our lives matter. There's a suggestion that the intrinsic value of whiteness is clear and unquestionable as we struggle to prove our own. Black lives matter. Who are we screaming this to? Who is the audience that we're addressing and why? And what do we believe about ourselves? How do we eliminate Black pain and struggle as performance art for the white gaze? How do we assert who we actually are without the necessity of double consciousness and self-loathing? How do we achieve freedom? I believe we find freedom through travel. Exploring the world opens us up to see ourselves as ourselves outside the boundaries of race in the United States. Black people in the U.S. find ourselves at a crossroads with a country that has never honestly recognized our citizenship or reconciled our humanity. We are ashamedly fighting the same fight our ancestors were 400 years ago. Do you stay and fight for the basic foundation of our national creed, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or do we leave? I would argue the fight on American soil for Black people has always been futile. And the need to beg, plead, and push for dignity from a nation that I would say has none is a waste of our precious energy. Black people who sit on the periphery of our own nation should use the one gift our country has ever given us, the American passport, and leave to other lands to reconcile our own humanity. To recover our nationless self that is forced into wearing invisible masks, hiding, shifting, and making our Blackness palatable for white consumption, and to make ourselves whole by discovering who we really are without the weight of racism in every part of our daily existence. To find new spaces, new countries, where you're not fighting simply to live. We, as ourselves, will save us all. The loudest opposition to leaving the U.S. for other countries and reestablishing Black life and communities is the idea that our ancestors built this country and we deserve to have a seat at the table. I ask whose table and why? Listen, I'm a Texan. I have 7 generations of my family alive. My great-grandparents bought land from their former slave owners. My family has 165 acres of farmland in Texas. Can you imagine how hard they had to work to position themselves to do that? It was earned and purchased, and we deserve more. So I understand and deeply sympathize with the feeling that we belong in the United States. We built the United States. However, we also deserve peace. We also deserve space to grow and develop strong enough to fight back. We deserve clean water, we deserve fresh food, we deserve schools that build our children up instead of tearing them down. We also deserve to feel safe when we walk out of our home, when we sit in our home. And with that, I'm saying we deserve to live, not simply survive. And I'm going to ask you to imagine another way, another argument, another plan of action, another way of life. Black people in America live in a constant state of war. You can never relax. There's no reprieve. We are victims of war, my people. It may be hard to see because living in any situation long enough makes you feel like it's normal. It isn't normal. Children that are born in war-torn countries, they play in the rubble of blown-up buildings. The people that survive are the ones that have to go on. We are the survivors, but we are also made to migrate. We're also made to search for places where our children can be safe and do not have to fear bombs dropping on their heads. The United States is the bomb. Its police force is the explosion. The education systems are the AK-47s. The white rage and the people that spew it are the bullets. We live in war. I honestly want you to consider this. I'm desperate for you to understand your own condition. I'm begging you, my people, to imagine another way. For centuries, white supremacist ideology has kept the majority of brown and black people all over the world on a chase for the proximity to whiteness, to see and understand whiteness as the standard, when our real power is being all that we are. Who are we when we put the effort into fulfilling our life's purpose? What can we do as you, the unbroken, unfractured, whole you? Today I want you to imagine not simply living without racism, but really imagining all the ways in which life can be more free. Imagine if you had a blank slate and your options were limitless. Imagine what opportunities you could create for yourself in a new environment. Imagine a lower cost of living, having economic freedom. Imagine building legacy for your family unhindered. Imagine access to affordable, fresh, and healthy foods. Imagine living without gun violence. Imagine creating the community you want to live in. Imagine living where you are the majority. Imagine living without imposed limitations. This exodus to Tulum is an exercise of resistance, but most importantly, it's an imagining. Black people have an amazing positioning in our homelessness, the opportunity to guide humanity past the failed nation state. We have an opportunity to challenge imaginary borders and restrictions of movement for human beings that exasperate inequality and oppression. We have the opportunity to not simply reconcile our own humanity, but challenge the social construction of race by reconciling all humanity to themselves. Look what we have done with a quarter of our being. Imagine what we will do whole. Imagine we, as ourselves, will save us all. Thank you.